Hey, it's surprising me as much to be here probably as it is for you to see me. I am getting my second round of chemo for breast cancer tomorrow, and I thought that I would do a Bible study. Because frankly, I was kind of pissed that I missed Epiphany. I think I got to do it at church, but I don't remember much about it. And it's like my very favorite Sunday. So I thought that I would start a couple of things. Let's see what I was going to get kind of ready. But if you'd like to join me, you're welcome to. Whoop! The only candle I could find is a battery operated candle. So here we go. I'm going to turn that on as a way, and I've got chocolate from my fudge sickle. So I'm going to put my little candle right here next to me. So if you want to pause this and get yourself a little candle and light it, you're welcome to do that. And you'll need a Bible if you have one. And it doesn't really matter what Bible it is. And just find a Bible, and if you don't have a Bible, you can find, a Bible on the phone. Just look up a Bible. And I'm not taking a little gummy right now because I had to take a steroid for tomorrow. But I do like the way a little gummy makes me feel. I've never been much of a wine drinker. I think I have allergies. But if I take, like, little gummies are about this big, and you take a little bitty bite, and for me, I've lived with a lot of critical voices in my head kind of all the time. And when I took a gummy, when I had one for the very first time, which was just like 5 years ago, just a tiny little bit on my teeth, and all of a sudden those voices just went away. Those awful voices that just say mean things to you ever since you were a baby, or even inside the womb, if you can imagine that, living inside someone else's body. But anyway, they were gone. So 3 things you're going to need if you want to have this Bible study with me is a little candle, a little gummy, or a little joint, or a little glass of wine. Or you know what, if you're not doing any of that stuff, like me today, I have vanilla wafers. A little vanilla wafer. It's all my stomach can handle today. And a little glass of oat milk, because I can't drink regular milk right now. But I'm not going to bore you. I've got all the same symptoms that you can imagine. I'm wearing my pajamas. I've got a little thing on my head because my hair's falling out. And you don't think that's going to make you feel bad, but I tell you what, it's not just that it falls out, it's that it's saying kind of fuck you, I'm gone kind of thing. There's sort of there's pain involved. It feels kind of like when you bang your elbow, that awful sort of nerve. Anyway, we're not going to focus on that. We're going to look in the Bible, whichever one you have. And I've been looking at 2 Corinthians. You think you can find that? So it's in the New Testament. It's way toward the end. And you've got 1 Corinthians, and you've got 2 Corinthians. And if y'all haven't seen Eddie Izzard's thing about the Corinthians, you need to watch it. So she does a great show on that. Eddie Izzard, Izzard. And she's a wonderful person, trans person. Okay. So it's 2 Corinthians, And then it's chapter 4. And you can look, 4 are the big numbers. Like you've got these big numbers, chapter 4. I don't know if this is backwards or forwards, but the big number is the chapter, and the little numbers are the verses. Now, in the original, I've lost a lot of brain. The original pericopes, there's the word. The original, like, it would have been calfskin in the New Testament documents. They didn't have any chapters or verses. But I think this is a nice. We're going to look at chapter 4, verse 7. And it says something about a little bit before it, if you look at it. For it is the God who said, "Let light shine out of the darkness," who has shown in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. Okay, so you get this kind of formal statement that we've heard a lot. And those of you who are Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, my understanding of my faith is that this is the house I grew up in, but the door is wide open and the windows are wide open, and I love my neighborhood. One of the reasons I'm doing this is because I'm so inspired by the good people of Minnesota standing up to ICE. And there's a word that they're using now for them. Of course, can I remember it? I don't know, but it's something like neighborhood. There's a better word than that. Something, but it means standing up for your neighbor. And I just love that. And I think when I saw all those people standing out in the cold, I thought to myself, I can't put on makeup because it burns my skin. And I thought, well, the least I could do is put on some mascara, but my eyelashes have fallen out. And I've got fever blisters and like lipstick, and I even ordered a new shade. I don't even like putting earrings in. That just feels so awful. So we have this verse 7. Did y'all find it? I guess page numbers isn't going to help. I don't know what kind of Bible you have. And your words they're going to be different. That's okay. But we have this treasure in clay jars, so that it may be made clear that this extraordinary power belongs to God and does not come from us. There comes a point where you're kind of like, maybe I just need to take the makeup off and show up, because I am a clay jar. I'm just a clay jar. You know, we feel that at different times in our lives, being a clay jar. I'm going to eat a little bit of this cookie. You're welcome to take a little puff. But there's a treasure inside of that clay jar. Maybe once we strip some things away, we can find something lovely. Maybe we don't even notice it, really, until I remember my first chemo treatment. It was about 3 weeks ago, and I'm out here in Greeley, Colorado, and I went to Longmont. It's all women who run this breast cancer. I've got 2 spots on my right side. One that's this spaceship, and then a little bitty spaceship, and somehow this one's created that one, I think. And between the 2 of them, it's about the size of I don't know, 3 centimeters. So they let me know yesterday that it shrank to 1 centimeter, so that's nice. But still, I got this stuff that's floating around my body now that's just like, oh, fuck, you know? Okay, so clay jars. Oh, I was saying that the treasure, I walked into the hospital going, I just don't want to be here. I don't want to belong here. I don't want these to be my people. They just look like, well, you know what they look like. My sister, they look like my sister. They look like my mother, who both went through cancer, especially my sister. I've even got those puffy eye things going, little dots everywhere. Can you see it? Yeah. Yeah. Can I say fucking clay jars? Yeah, I'm just gonna say that. We have this treasure in clay jars. You just can't believe. You look in the mirror and just go. So that it may be made clear that the power belongs to God. That it's not on me. In fact, what I'm really trying to do is just sort of get out of the way and say, there's some lovely things in this world, and a lot of lovely things about this life, and I can't keep saying, well, when I lose 20 pounds, then I'm gonna get out and whatever I'm gonna do. So, but this power does not come from us. We're afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed, always carrying in the body the death of Jesus. I was kind of ready for sort of resurrect, I don't know, something, spirit, but it's the death you're carrying around inside of you, so that the life of Jesus may also be made visible in our bodies. And then it goes on to say some things that I don't understand, but so that the life of Jesus, there's something about the irony of this that feels right. That we're carrying around this treasure, which is the death of Jesus. I think in some ways it might be that, you carry around the spirit of those who've gone before, maybe. I'm thinking about my sister a lot, of course. I'm thinking of my friends. I'm thinking of my sister-in-law, Chris, who's dealing with cancer, and I think it's kind of a carrying around rock bottom. Like I'm carrying around the notion that there is an end, the mortality, that you just don't want to be, you just don't want that in your face all the time, and it's always there. I'm a minister. In fact, when I moved away from Mount Vernon, which is a beloved, sweet town, I remember saying, the one thing that's sort of strangely comforting is that you've got the coffee shop, and then I was always going to the graveyard because I was always having to bury people. And as we were driving away, I thought about all those people in that graveyard that I knew and that I laid into the ground. And there was this guy, Brian, who was the grave digger, and I loved Brian. So we're always meeting there. And there was this one time that we buried this mean old woman. She didn't have any friends, and just mean. And I'm sure she was mean for a reason. Her husband was a mean drunk guy. But anyway, she there was nobody there, and it was like 20 below, which makes me think of Minnesota, right? And I went out to the graveyard, and we were the only ones there, me and Brian. And he's this big, round barrel of a guy, and he's got his Carhartt onesie on, and we buried her, just the two of us, out there in this brutal cold. And he had the vault all, the ground open, and he'd already dug in the big backhoes behind us, and it's just, and I got out my little prayer book, and we said a prayer for her. And that's I don't know, it's just one of those moments where you're facing death together, and there's this peace in that moment. For, of course, someone who's lived a long life, we're not even going to talk about the injustice of a young life gone too soon. But she'd lived a long, mean life, and but we did that for her. We offered her that grace. And the funny thing is that, like, a couple of days later, maybe a week later, maybe a longer time later, I was in the grocery store, and Brian was there, and guess what? He was dressed in a suit for some reason. And again, it was really cold outside, and I was the one dressed in work clothes. And I'm turning off my heater, and we didn't recognize each other. We were over by the frozen fish sticks or something, and I said, I know you. But he looked so different. I had been with him tens of times, 30, 40, 50, more than that, lots of times, and even in different towns. Here's Brian again. And yeah, so it took us a minute. I was like, oh my gosh, you always see me in a robe. You always see me in my robe, or even if I'm wearing like a formal sort of outdoor gear, I've got the robe thing going on over it. But so I haven't even gotten to Epiphany, have I? I was going to use this as kind of we carry Christ's death in our bodies. I don't know. That just kind of seemed to be the thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, so we're going to move. Now, if you're still in Corinthians, you're going to just flip about an inch forward to the first book in the New Testament. That's Matthew. Matthew's the one about the kings. You gotta love Matthew for that. So you got these wise men, and it's one of the things I've loved as a minister is our Christmas pageants. I've gotten to do at least 100 Christmas pageants, maybe 200, and I never get tired of them. And the wise men are easy, because you always have those kids that show up that, it's that Sunday morning or even Christmas Eve, and you've been practicing, and then here come these grandkids from out of town. And they want. So you've got all these extra costumes, and you throw them on them. And they're so glad. They're there, they're bored out of their mind, and cranky and excited and all of those things. And then you've got this gorgeous, things, and we're all singing "We Three Kings." But the thing about the wise men is that, for me, they represent in kind of in a Jungian way. And when I say that, I mean Carl Jung, who really loved dreams. He was a psychiatrist, great thinker. And he taught us a lot about the unconscious. So the wise men, for me, they just sort of come from far away. We don't know much about them. So they are stubbornly mysterious. We think a rock, and here they are. But they represent a lot of not knowing, a lot of things we don't know. What is it we don't know and can't know? So they come slowly strolling on these donkeys, camels, camels, and I feel like I'm doing that drunk history. What were they riding? Camels. I think the steroids kicking in. But they come from far away, and they are so much like me. They'd stop, and they ask for directions from an idiot king. An idiot king. Whether this is myth or real, we know King Herod was real, and we know he was bad. It was horrible. And these wise men, magi, magicians, astronomers, mathematicians, adventurers, they come into town and they talk to him. And he says, "Show me where this baby is." I haven't been reading it, I'm just telling you, right? Okay, it's chapter 2. In that time of King Herod, the thing about the Bible is it is settled into the political reality of the day. And there are many of us, and I've been there myself, where I want to forget about politics. I really do. I just want to have this quiet little something going on. But the Bible doesn't let us do that. Matthew sure doesn't let us do that. He starts off right away. In the time of King Herod. I don't know whether this is a good time to bring it up or not, but my mom was really mean. She was so mean and so lovely, and I tried so hard not to like her, but I admired her. There was so much about her that I just kept thinking, gosh, I wish I could be more that way, or more this, or more stylish, or more, that I looked pulled together and all my outfits anyway, and beautiful homes and cute person. But she was really mean. And I think that if I were to start my memoir, I would say, in the time of Sally Gillespie, after Jesus was born, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem. So whatever's coming next, you know that you're in a creepy forest, right? But these wise men are just kind of slowly on their camels coming forward. And I think that's one of the things I've loved about the Minnesotans, is that they just get out there, They just get out there, and people have been executed in the streets, and the neighbors are still, would I do that? Gosh, I hope I would do that. I would hope I would do that for my neighbor and say, no, you can't take her away. No, you can't take him away. No, you can't take these children. No, you can't. I hope I could do that. In the time when anybody in their right mind, in the time of King Herod, anybody in their right mind would be afraid, because there's brutality coming down from the top. Jesus was born, and these wise men came and said, "Where's this child that's born? We saw his star at its rising." And this is lovely, how it marks the time. I just love this in the Bible, when you get this mythic quality that the stars are what are moving, not the earth. So they're sitting nice and still, and the stars are coming over, like the books in a library or a movie. That they're sitting there, these wise men, and they're reading the not thinking that they're on the earth that's moving, right? But they see it more as a story's unfolding for them in the sky. I just love that. Is your candle still burning? Sometimes it's nice just to go like this. It's not a real candle, so I don't know that works, but it's a lovely, I'm going to set it right here. It's a lovely kind of, on the Sabbath, our Jewish friends do this. The mother does this, bringing this light to her. We are clay jars. God knows that's true right now for me anyway. And so then King Herod says, how, where is he? And he said, well, he asks his people, and they were like, yeah, it's been written, and we're kind of expecting this. And within a couple of verses, you're going to get to the massacre of the infants, where he's going to be trying to kill this baby. So what is that about for you? And what is that about for me? I think it's a great story about how sometimes the very thing you treasure, you trust someone enough to tell them, I really love this little thing. This is something very precious to me. Or maybe you tell them a story, or maybe you show them, a little artsy craftsy thing you made. I don't know, I'm trying to make these little tags. They're stupid, but I don't know. I've seen them, people can do them in real nice. Anyway. But you share something that matters to you. And they don't want it, really. They don't even care about it, this person. But they know you love it. And that's how stinky, heinous, mean they are. Is they know you love it. And so they crush it. Because they don't want your attention being on that thing and not on them. I'll have to find where she is, but there's this, back to Minnesota, this woman who said that ICE was coming in, had been sent in by Trump to destroy something that they all loved. They were like, we're Lutherans. And I tell you what, if you want to get something done, Lutheran Social Services, oh my gosh, they've done amazing things. The Lutheran Church, that's, very big part of Minnesota. And they've got these phenomenal programs, feeding the kids and helping moms and having these schools and integrating these different cultures. My daughter-in-law is a teacher, English second language, and she's working with Hmong kids, and just so delightful. These people, these children, and I get to watch her teach sometimes back here in Denver, but she's in Minnesota now, and this person said that that they were that the story of Minnesota was that the current president's administration is a lot like Herod is looking at something that is precious to a lot of people. And on a personal level, I still think about my next door neighbor who ripped the heads off my paper dolls when I was 3. Julia McNeil, if you're out there, you owe me 3 paper dolls. She didn't even want them. She just left them there. Left them there with the heads off. My Christmas present. What the heck? But here's the thing. I'm a lot like those wise men where I have trouble recognizing danger. I have trouble believing that someone's mean when they just tell you right out. I don't care about people or whatever. I have trouble with that. Because I've all my life, growing up in my world with my mom, I worked so hard as a kid to bridge the gap, right? To bridge that gap. It's hard for me to go, this person is not interested in having some sort of a a friendship or mutual respect or something. They're not. I learned when I went back to school to get my counseling degree that flight, freeze, what's the other one? Flight, freeze, faint. No, those are those little goats, right? Flight, that's running away, fight, right? So fight back, freeze, or run away. Well, they've added another one, another 4th F word, and it's not fuck off, which would be, you could say that, but it's more, it's fawning. And when I read what fawning is, I thought, I do that all the time. I am a fawn. I even got Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as a little kid back here. I fawn, which means you're constantly buttering up the other person as best you can in the hopes that they won't kill you. That somewhere underneath there you're scared they're going to really hurt you and crush your soul. And so you just keep buttering them. And I was like, I don't know what else to do. That's all I do is butter people up. So what's this got to do with the wise man? I think I need another sip of this before. I don't know. All right, so wise men. Fawning. Oh, because they're fawning, right? They did that. They went to this evil king. They're like, oh, one king to another. Tell us about this child that's been. And I wonder, as a person who loves movies and loves plays, by the way, if you're watching this, we have the most cool play at our church right now. It's called The Fool, and it's a reworking of King Lear. If any of you have seen like those, all of Shakespeare plays put in one little, that's the same writer. Can I remember his name? No. But it's coming up like this weekend, like next weekend or something. So look up Greeley Garage Sale Theater, and you'll find out the dates and the tickets, and I'm not kidding you. I've sat there through some of the rehearsals. They've built the whole set. It's a black box kind of thing. Oh my God, the puppets that are full human. I'm not supposed to tell you that. All right. But when I think about this, I think about what do the wise men, when was the moment? When was the moment where they all were sitting around the campfire? They've seen this baby. They've given him the gifts. They all ate a little bit of some of those wonderful Middle Eastern things with the rose water. And oh my gosh, you know they had some good stuff in those saddlebags. And okay, I'm lost again. Okay. I just pretended. I just said, oh, thinking if I say, oh, then maybe my brain will jump in. But it didn't. So, oh yeah. So when is the moment when they would say, I can kind of imagine it, right? The legend is there's three of them because there's three gifts, but we don't know. There's probably a lot of them, and I imagine there were plenty of women in there too. All kinds of people who are in part of this phenomenal caravan, which makes me think of Rumi's wonderful, wonderful Muslim poet. He has that, we are not a caravan of despair. Oh my gosh. Isn't that a great line? I don't remember anything else of it. It's something like, come, join us. We are not a caravan of despair. God, that's great. Okay, caravan. Happy caravan. They're all sitting around. Multiple fires. They got these wonderful sort of Middle Eastern silk things there. Maybe some monkeys. I don't. It's lovely. And they're camping out. And Balthasar turns to Malchazar, or whatever their names were, and he says, I've been thinking. And before he even says it, the other person goes, yeah, I know. And they know. They don't even say it out loud. We're not going back to Herod. We're going home another way. That's a lovely line. And they left for their own country by another road. We learn things. We learn things and we have regrets. Maybe they knew, I don't know. What did they know? But they knew they may have sparked a fire that they knew they couldn't put out. And they now knew who Herod was. They wished they'd done a little homework. If only I'd known this ahead of time. But they move into a Jungian kind of archetype, which means a sort of a type that connects with your belly. And that is that part of us that thinks we ought to know, but we don't. And we can't. It's so easy to go back over your life and say, gosh, if I'd only... That lovely book, Hamnet, and the movie Hamnet, it starts off by saying, the whole thing is about Shakespeare's wife and her saying about their son, who we know died. There's this whole moment that lives on in her mind. If only I had gotten there sooner, then this wouldn't have happened and this wouldn't have, And the wise men, I think, are an emblem of that emotion we have, or that symbol of that motion we have of, if I had known how this would turn out, if I had known, I might have made different decisions. I was really excited to ask the doctor, because I'd heard she knew, to say, when exactly did my cancer happen? When exactly? Like, what was the day? Can you figure that out? And someone said, oh, yeah, she's really good at figuring that out. I mean, you'd think you could. They know, they're doing biopsies. They're looking at this stuff and DNA and all kinds of crazy things that they can do now. And they know how fast it's growing, right? They know it's multiplying this many times. And so they could just work it backwards. We learned that in math somewhere. Rate versus distance or time or something. And they could figure it out. When did it start? So I went in 2 days ago for some of my blood work, and I said, so I'm hearing that, you can find out when exactly it happened. And I'm all ready. I'm ready for the doctor to say, April 5th at 2 o'clock, this cancer appeared, and your body said, I'm too tired to deal with you. I'm not going to bring in the antibodies and the immuno, what, I'm not going to do it. You know, there have been 400 of you, and I'm just kind of tired. I'm not going to do it. And then by that, I could figure out, like, hey, I could, if it happened on a day when I was stressed, I could say, well, I'm not going to be stressed anymore. I'm going to smoke pot every day. Or I could have said, if it was a day that I had COVID, which I did, and what's that other one where your lungs fill up? I had that one, pneumonia, and it could have been that. In that case, I might be wearing a mask all the time. I don't know. But here's what happened. They said there's no way for us to know. So there was rumor at the hospital among the nurses and the helpers and whatever. Oh, yeah, she can tell you. She'll know. And then you'll know. But we're back to the wise men. They're just things that you really don't know. We're all good people. We all are trying. And, well, there's some that are trying harder than others. And there's, as Aviva Zornberg said, she's one of my favorite Bible scholars. We'll talk about her another day. But as she said, some people's lights, everybody's got a light inside of them. As our 2 Corinthians said, but some lights shine brighter than others. All right, how should I end this? Oh, I know. I'll do my usual benediction. All right, hold your little candle up. Hold your little. Hey, Bob. And oh, here we go. Here's the phone. I'm doing a Bible study.
Oh, good.
I know. Okay, I have to put my candle down because I do a little. This is just my own. I looked it up, but I'm not. Anyway, go out into the world. This is a W. World in peace. Have courage. Hold fast to what is good. Render to no one evil for evil, but instead support those who are weak. Comfort those who are sad. Encourage those who are apathetic. Honor, that's an H. And I've got my heart in my head. Can you see it? Honor all people, rejoicing, and you do this down by your belly. Rejoicing, because rejoicing is like about your tummy feeling good, which I believe is true, because my tummy hasn't felt good for long. Rejoicing in the power of the Holy Spirit, now and forevermore. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You're okay. Amen. See you soon.